In this world, everyone is given a planet to become a planet lord, and I clearly possess a 3S class mechanical planet capable of creating a million mechs. Truly arrogant, they only care about their own interests now. It seems they have been too comfortable for too long. Bai Su's expression was extremely unpleasant. Tomorrow, the graduates of the 4 major academies will all have their graduation ceremony. Theoretically, the graduation ceremony should last for 2 to 3 days. However, because of the presence of Hoshino on the side of the Qingting Academy, the day ended early. Many lord guilds and some families have not yet started to snatch people. On the side of the Qingting Academy, because it has turned into Hoshino's personal show, the strength of Qingting Academy graduates has become a mystery. As usual, after each academy graduation ceremony, the academy's environment card is explored once. The academy will rely on its own monitoring system to evaluate students to a certain extent. The evaluation criteria with the highest weightage is direct combat ability. Captain, should we intervene in that kid's matter? In fact, about the plan of Zhu Guangfu and the others just now, it was naturally heard directly by Bai Su. In the end, of course, they did not reveal it, and there was no need to reveal such things. That kid has not joined us yet, so let him handle his own affairs. Don't forget, he was originally a mechanical lord. What does being a mechanical lord mean? You must be very clear. Bai Su's eyes still showed some disbelief. A mechanical lord. Wanting to create their own territory is as difficult as reaching the sky. The materials required by each mechanical lord are not the same. Common materials like circuit chips are more common. As for things like machine core, strange materials, they have never even heard of them. A lord who cannot even create a territory, can he still be called a lord? So the most useless talent is a mechanical lord, no matter what level. But Hoshino is different. In just a short time, he has a set of mechas and a war fortress. And these 2 mechanical creations are not just strong. Don't forget, Hoshino's strength is only at the level of a low-level lord. But because of his mechanical talent, there are actually not many people paying attention to Hoshino. Zhu Guangfu and the others who left the house met someone. After explaining some things in detail, Zhu Guangfu asked them to find those 2 families. After seeing the backs of those principals leaving, Zhu Guangfu was not as happy as before. Why? Teacher, why don't you understand me? Everything I do is to help you. Zhu Guangfu opened his panel and glanced at it. Sea-level talent, these 4 words in his eyes made him feel uncomfortable. Now, it's time to find that kid. As for the location, let's go to the Hu family first. How many is this? I'm not sure, at least there are over 100. These things look quite fragile. Fragile? Why don't you try it yourself? No, the new generation now is really terrifying. He seems to be just a low-level lord. He is a low-level lord. I don't know which academy in Nantian City he graduated from. I think it should be the Qingting Academy. I heard some news before, saying that a monster appeared in the Qingting Academy this year. A monster? It seems like it's him. And that monster also awakened the mechanical lord talent. I initially just took it as a joke. The crowd looked somewhat dazed as they gazed into the distance. Hoshino is extremely handy now. With a snap of his fingers, he directly summoned a mechanical arm through the cracks in the territory space to sweep away these dwarf puppets. From the beginning until now, they encountered a few relatively powerful dwarf puppets on the way, but they still couldn't withstand a blow from the Black Knight. It seems that sometimes jokes are actually a kind of reality. Who would have thought that there would actually be a mechanical lord establishing a territory? Hoshino scanned the surroundings. When there were no more dwarf puppets in sight, all the broken dwarf puppet bodies were directly collected into the territory. At this moment, Galway suddenly appeared next to Xingye like a phantom. Brother, I think we should leave now. Galway's face was filled with great embarrassment. Initially, when the Hu family sent people over, they said that Galway would lead the team to help Xingye gain experience. They also planned to share some materials and treasures with Xingye, a recent graduate. But now, except for the initial encounter, they had been idle like on a spring outing. To be honest, Xingye had been a lord for many years, but this was the first time he had explored an environment card so easily. At this moment, he already had 8 treasures in his territory, all obtained from this environment card. Leave already? Aren't you planning to empty this environment card? Xingye's expression changed. How could they leave? The bodies of these dwarf puppets were materials of intermediate 6-star level, without any attributes. Such materials meant they had great compatibility. They could be melted down to strengthen the Black Warrior or the second mech that was about to be completed. These were all valuable materials. Materials were what Xingye lacked the most. Even with star sources, Xingye still planned to exchange for more materials. Xingye was different from others. He could quickly turn materials into combat power. Other lords could also strengthen their troops, but their efficiency was not as high as Xingye's. Gao Wei wiped the sweat from his forehead. Mainly, he felt a bit guilty. Well, it's not that we can't, but we originally planned to find 6 treasures and then leave. Now we already have 8. Forget about the materials, these dwarf puppets were all defeated by me, so they should belong to me. At most, you can take 1/10. Materials were Xingye's lifeline, and no one could touch them, especially these intermediate materials. According to Tianwan's calculations, these materials had an efficiency rate of 90%. For example, a certain monster's bone, an intermediate material, had an efficiency rate of 30%. With Tianwan, anything could be used. Under normal circumstances, how could bones be used to make mechs? No, brother, you misunderstood me. What I meant was that these 8 treasures are enough for us for a year. The promotion of the territory's troops, the development of the territory, even if we consume resources, it also takes at least half a year. With these 8 treasures, I have a rough estimate in my heart. The star source can be sold for 1,500,000, and with this map, I just calculated that our harvest this time has already started at 5 million star source. Gao Wei paused. Map, monster intelligence, 2 complete sets of treasures, and 3 separate treasures. A complete set of treasures means that with a complete set of equipment, there will be more attribute increases, and the attributes triggered by the set are much higher than those of a single piece of treasure. We have already harvested so much. I really feel embarrassed to take so many things. After all, our team is to some extent also under the protection of the Chenghu family. And this whole journey, we haven't done anything. Beside him, the only one. The person Gao Wei referred to as Dogtooth earlier, his face turned pale, and his forehead was covered in sweat. He looked as if he had just been pulled out of the water. In the midst of the entire environment, starting from Xingye's exertion of force, he never stopped exploring the surrounding areas with his soldiers. The images seen by the soldiers would directly enter his mind. Although he was an intermediate lord with very high mental power, this kind of consumption was nothing to him. But he couldn't keep going like this. In the middle, he even swallowed a bottle of intermediate mental condensing potion to restore his mental strength. Until he heard Gao Wei's words, "We haven't done anything." A look of great confusion appeared on his face. His already somewhat tense mind was once again bombarded with the image of a soldier. The first one led to the second. Splat! A nosebleed shot out. Dogtooth calmly swallowed another bottle of intermediate mental condensing potion. He didn't say much, just looked at Gao Wei with his eyes. As for Xingye's words, well, there was no need to look. After all, he was the main output, the backbone. No need to look. Xingye's face was serious. Look at how hard Dogtooth is working. How about this? If you really feel bad, you take 30%, and I'll take 70%, how about that? Whether it's a treasure or not, Xingye himself doesn't care much. His increase in combat power mainly does not rely on that. It still depends on materials. Gao Wei turned his head to look at Dogtooth. He felt that if he refused, after going out later, Dogtooth would take half of the family's star source directly to the Assassin's Guild to place an order. Okay. The situation that followed was simple. Not only Dogtooth, but also Gao Wei and almost all the members became reconnaissance soldiers. They searched everywhere. As long as there were monsters, they would signal directly. This speed was much faster than before. It's hard to say how long passed. A dwarf puppet, taller and more complex in craftsmanship than the other dwarf puppets, suddenly fell to the ground. Several treasures fell out of it. At the same time, a blueprint flew out. At this point, no one moved, because they all knew that this strongest dwarf puppet was destroyed by Xingye. All the spoils of war directly belonged to Xingye, and they had no complaints. Now Gao Wei and the others have already obtained 15 treasures. After this trip, they probably won't need to work for a year. And to be able to consume all these resources within half a year is considered quite fast. Xingye immediately stored the blueprint in the body of the tall dwarf puppet and put several treasures into his lord space at will. Dwarf shock cannon intermediate 8 stars firepower, 160,000 cannon durability, 60,000 materials. Dwarf Ally X30,000, Dwarf Fine Ally X6000, Dwarf Blood X300, High Concentration Liquor X10 Introduction, a type of dwarf siege cannon. This cannon was invented by a dwarf engineer in despair and anger after drinking the poison wine given by the Night Elf King, drawing a blueprint that embodies the hope of the dwarf city of Urzikar. This blueprint is somewhat useful. Compared to a lord, it can be used as a defensive or offensive cannon. For Hoshino, it seems to have little use. After placing the blueprint in the territory space, Hoshino asked Tianwan to see if it had any use. If it did, he would keep it. If not, he would sell it for a good price. The price of a blueprint is no less than that of an intermediate environmental card. A blueprint signifies the foundation for building powerful defenses. Like Hoshino, there are not many people whose starting territory is a war fortress. Tian Wang is analyzing. Analysis successful. Blueprints successfully decomposed. Burst Annihilation Cannon. Battlefield teleport speed increased by 2%. Power increased by 1%. Endless Dark Energy Tower. Battlefield teleport speed increased by 10%. Power increased by 1%. Soon, Hoshino heard a bunch of cannon names he had never heard of before. Because of the decomposition of that blueprint, all these cannons were greatly strengthened to some extent. Based on the decomposed blueprint, a blueprint for a large-scale war machine has been improved. Walking War, Core Mech Armor, Split Sky Town will Radiance Intermediate 8 stars. Firepower, 30,000, can shatter planets with 10 cannons. Durability, 1. 5 million. Special skills, Energy Fire Control, Radiance of Hope, Momentary Sacrifice, Light of Hope, Town Will. Materials, reduced by Creation Talent. Starting materials for low-level 5-star materials 3000. Introduction, the core force in large-scale warfare. The passive skill of Energy Fire Control can greatly enhance its attack accuracy and firing speed. The Radiance of Hope, as long as there are mechanical bodies on the battlefield, even if the durability is depleted, the firepower of the Split Sky Town Will cannon doubles. The durability is locked at 1, cannot be destroyed except by rule-based attacks. Momentary Sacrifice, the power of the next shot will increase 16 times. After the third shot, the Split Sky Town will shatter. Wow! This thing is a true mechanical creation. With this in hand, the Black Knight Mech Armor charges in front, while the million Split Sky Town Wills aim and provide fire support in the rear. To be honest, Hoshino is almost going crazy with this kind of combat power. However, after glancing at the materials required for manufacturing, Hoshino also feels a bit of a headache. According to the logic of the Lord's world, the materials required for manufacturing are of the same grade. High-grade materials cannot be used for low-level blueprints, and so on. It seems that I will have to collect some low-level materials later. However, Tianwan's voice immediately came from the Lord's space. Low-level 5-star materials are just the minimum requirement. The Lord can also use intermediate materials. This blueprint was created by me, and the grade of intermediate materials is higher. With the materials the Lord has collected now, one can be manufactured. Shall we proceed? At this moment, Tianwan's voice is like the most beautiful music to Hoshino, intoxicating him. Great! Make it, one must be manufactured. Acknowledged, Lord's command, manufacturing time, 2 hours. The excitement on Hoshino's face was unstoppable. Although he didn't know the extent of the power of similar cannons and mechs owned by others, he felt that the power of his Split Sky Town Will cannon was definitely not weak, especially with the momentary sacrifice skill. The power of artillery has increased by 16 times. What does this mean? The original power of artillery was enough to shatter a planet with about 10 shots, but now it has increased by 16 times. With one shot, not to mention a planet, even a star could be pierced. After that, Hoshino